Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a massive, truly foundational question that sits right at the very core of our modern world. We are asking, what exactly is data? And maybe more importantly, why is context absolutely undeniably necessary to interpret it? I mean, we hear the word data thrown around constantly, right? Data science, data-driven, big data, it's everywhere. But when you strip away all those buzzwords, what are we actually dealing with? Well, throughout this explainer, we're going to break down this huge abstract concept into a highly practical system that you can actually use every single day.
Our promise for this explainer is pretty simple, but honestly, it's a real game changer. We're going to develop a clear, practical mental model for the whole concept of data. By the time we're done here, you're going to be able to explain the central idea in totally plain language. You'll be able to follow the main process from start to finish. And crucially, you'll recognize exactly where a data-driven result requires a healthy dose of caution. We're cutting through all the noise to give you the essential bites of knowledge you really need.
Okay, let's just dive right into it. Think about the number 42. Just 42. Sitting there all by itself, this number says almost nothing, right? It's like a giant puzzle with no picture on the box. Is it a temperature in Fahrenheit? Is it a European shoe size? Maybe the number of daily active users on some new niche app? Or, just a famous sci-fi reference? We have absolutely no idea, and that perfectly demonstrates that a value, just sitting all by itself, is virtually meaningless. It only becomes informative, it only becomes useful to us when we actually know what was measured, in what unit, for whom, when, and exactly how. That missing information, that's the context. And without it, you're literally just staring at empty numbers.
Let's move into Section 1, Definition and Context. What actually is data? To truly get a grip on this, we need to fundamentally shift our perspective. Listen to this definition carefully. Data are recorded representations of observations, events, measurements, categories, or symbols that can be organized and analyzed to answer questions. The absolutely crucial word here is representations. Data is not the underlying reality itself. Every single record reflects a whole series of human choices. Choices about what to observe, how to encode it, and maybe most importantly, what to leave out. The important distinction isn't just whatever label we slap on a spreadsheet. To really understand data, you have to ask what information enters the process, what operation changes or organizes it, and what kind of output comes back. Keeping those parts separate, that's how we turn an abstract, kind of intimidating term into a visible system that we can actually examine. All right, on to Section 2, the data process, from question to output.
So how does information actually flow through this system? Let's look at the structural mechanics, how an observation out there in the messy, real world actually gets transformed into a clean analytical output. It works in 4 specific steps. First up, the question. This defines exactly what information is even relevant to us. We don't just measure everything, we measure what we're actually asking about. Next is observation, which is the process of measuring a specific part of the world. Then we record that observation, essentially encoding it into a specific schema or format. And finally, we hit interpretation, where the analysis happens within the context of the data's provenance, meaning where it came from and what its limitations are. Here's the takeaway. This path truly matters. Why? Because assumptions, measurement choices, and errors can sneak in at every single one of these stages. A truly responsible explanation of any finding doesn't just show you the final output, it shows you this entire process.
Let's make this concrete. In Section 3, worked example, an illustrative data record.
Let's ground this abstract pipeline in reality, okay? We're going to look at a super compact example to see exactly how data takes shape. Imagine you just come across a row with the values 72, online, and complete. Well, just like the number 42 earlier, without column names, units, or knowing who we're talking about, these values are entirely ambiguous. But watch what happens when we add the metadata, the column headers. Now we see score, modality, and status. Boom. Suddenly we realize this might describe a student's quiz score, the fact that their course modality was online, and that their completion status is complete. That metadata is what turns ambiguous values into actual analyzable evidence. This whole example just proves that data quality is about meaning and provenance, not just whether a cell in a spreadsheet is filled in. We kept this example small so you could see every transformation. But remember, even in a massive real-world project with millions of records, this exact same conceptual path remains totally recognizable.
Moving right along to Section 4, Practical Use, the decision rule. Now that we know how data is built, how do we responsibly deploy it in the real world? Why does all of this actually matter? Well, because you must always use data to support a defined question, while vigorously retaining all that metadata we just talked about, the source, the population, the time, and the collection method. Here is your golden decision rule. Always match your method to your question, to your available data, and to the cost of making an error. Do not choose a technique just because it's popular or technically sophisticated. It's so tempting, but don't do it. Always step back and ask, are the inputs appropriate? Does the output actually answer the real question we have? And how are we going to check its performance on relevant cases?
Which brings us nicely to Section 5, Misconceptions and the Limits to Data.
Of course, with any incredibly powerful tool comes widespread misunderstanding. Let's tackle the core misconceptions surrounding data, because honestly, this might be the single most important concept in this entire explainer. There is this deeply ingrained, super common misconception that data are just raw, objective facts that speak for themselves. You've probably heard people say, just let the data speak. Actually, that's totally false. The much more accurate view is that data are constructed records of observations. They absolutely require context, they require strict definitions, and they require human interpretation. Data doesn't speak, we speak for it, based entirely on how we constructed it in the first place.
And because data is constructed, it has real boundaries. The main limitation you have to keep in view is that measurements can be incomplete. They can be biased. They can be noisy, totally outdated, or honestly just poorly matched to the question you're actually trying to answer. Now look, this doesn't make the concept of data useless. No way. Instead, it just clearly defines the conditions under which a result actually deserves your confidence versus the conditions where you desperately need additional evidence, further testing, or just some careful human judgment.
Let's wrap things up with Section 6, What, How, and When, the essential byte. Let's zoom out for a second. We've covered a ton of ground, so let's resolve this with a highly practical, three-part heuristic that you can take away and use right now. Here's the essential byte. First, what is data? Data are recorded representations of observations, events, measurements, categories, or symbols that can be organized and analyzed to answer questions. Second, how does it work? It operates as a mechanism moving continuously through a question, an observation, a record, and interpretation. And finally, when does it matter? It matters when it's deployed to support a defined question while rigorously retaining all that boundary metadata about its source, population, time, and collection method. Always keep those limitations in view. That right there is the absolute core of responsible analysis.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've seen today that understanding data as constructed records is incredibly empowering. It's like having a superpower. It allows you to peer right behind the curtain of every chart, every graph, and every study you encounter. So I'm going to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. The very next time you are presented with some shocking statistic or a really definitive data-driven claim, ask yourself, what vital context, what crucial metadata was left out of the record? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those great questions and never, ever let a number stand without its context.